In 1999, 2000, right around in that area, I came across some research that had been done on field mice. And the research involved trying to determine why field mice, voles, V-O-L-E-S, only breed at a certain time of year, and that's in the early spring. Now, that kind of captivated me, so you're going to understand what kind of guy I am by, I got excited over the sex life of mice. But anyway, we started there and started looking at the research, and the research had determined that the reason they only bred in the springtime of the year was that their diet consisted of the early growth of the grasses that made up their diet, and that would stimulate their estrus cycle, their libido, and whatever it took for them to breed. By isolating that compound, and they only had one compound at the time, but by isolating that compound, they found that they could stimulate the mice to breed at any time of year. And they found this wonderful information, and they put it on the shelf because they saw no way to make it financially viable or to make it commercially successful. As I looked at the information, I thought, you know, there's got to be something here. This has all the earmarks of new knowledge, new technology. So I bought the research and bought all the rights to it and started developing at that point to try to make it commercially viable and to find out more about it. As I got into this, I started developing a line, and you will understand the roadblock I went into here. We initially started with the plants, grinding them, hydrating them in powder, 16 double-aught capsules 3 times a day to get any effect out of it. And so immediately we had a real compliance problem. It just didn't work. People wouldn't do that. Most people don't want to take, you know, even a couple. So we had these problems we had to face, and I had other investors with me, and I eventually bought all of them out because they were really pushing to get a cash cow out of this, and I wanted to develop the research. I felt if we were able to mature the research and mature the end game on this, then the product would naturally come. I'm a great believer in that if you do things right, the money comes. If you get that out of sequence, then often you lose your integrity. So we stuck to our guns. I bought out my investors, kept the company in-house, and I started researching, first of all, to growing methods, and determined what would give me higher yields and greater concentrations. And then, as I said, kind of serendipitously, I stumbled across an extraction method that would give me the compound I wanted. Now, the great thing about the extraction method was it didn't just extract the target compound that I wanted, which was a polyphenol. It extracted the entire family of polyphenols that exist in these plants, and there's 16 of them. And by getting all of them, we enhanced the effect of it, and we got much greater concentrations of product than we had had before. The problem that it left us with was we had a tarry, smelly, foul-tasting goop that in some way we had to find a way to deliver to customers and to conduct all of our tests and everything else. Initially, we cut it with sunflower seed oil, and of course we ran into problems with people concerned about nut allergies and things like that. Then we cut it with grapeseed oil, which was more palatable to people, and we would flavor those oils with peppermint or spearmint to mask the flavor, and it was okay. It did mask it. It did smell badly. It did taste off. You know, it wasn't something that you look forward to taking, but it was tolerable. And then I got to doing some more research as a result of some of the education I was getting in this field, and found that I could micronize this and take it down to very small particles. And when you get this on an atomic level, as with almost any kind of compound, it loses any distinctive odor, taste, or color. So I was able to do that and get it down to a micronized level. And the beauty of that was it went from being fat soluble to water soluble. So hence we have this compound that we have now in a water spray, and we flavor it with a very, very mild mint flavor. When you first taste it, there's just a hint of mint, and then it goes away. It's not something that lingers or leaves any aftertaste. So that's where we are now. And to explain this, let me tell you where we want to go with this so that you'll see why this is just a beginning. One of the things we were able to do is get, we have 7 patents on this product. And well, they're all, 6 of them are use patents. One of them is a process patent, which we don't use anymore. The use patents are incredibly important because other people can produce the compounds, but the minute they start to use them based on our claims, then they're in patent violation. And we have been to patent court once. It took about 3 years, but we had a resounding victory there. And so we own this technology, we own this field. And basically what we own is 57,000 plants that are all monocots. And these compounds exist in all 57,000 monocots. And we own that. No one can violate that space that we're in. So we're looking at something that I believe is a technology that is going to change medicine and its delivery. If you'll just listen to the radio ads now, and a lot of the new supplements that are coming out, they're just raving over polyphenols. While polyphenols are wonderful compounds, the thing that makes ours distinctive is that they do not exist. Well, let me say, monocots are all the cereal grains, the grass in your front yard, all the orchid family, which is 20,000 orchids. It also has all the onion family, onions, leeks, and garlic, and it's bananas and bamboo. Those are all monocots. So we own that now. That's one of the thrilling parts to me, is that the research is ours and we can proceed with it. Now, what bodes well for us is that we've created something that has medicinal value with no side effects, no addictive property, no non-habit forming, and no drug interactions. And the technology that we've discovered with all of that really looks good as far as proceeding on this with research into developing. We'll just, they're really medicines, but we're going to call them supplements because we would rather operate under those laws than the medicinal laws. We don't want to go where big pharma is. But we've eliminated the problems that pharmaceutical companies have with side effects, drug interference, and all that, because the FDA has classified us as a food. We just don't have the problems that other people have. So we can look now at other plants and derive the benefit from them. All we've got to do is identify the family that target compounds are in, because we have the sufficient technology now to extract the entire family and apply the benefits that those will have. One of the problems with the technology that is out there right now is that all of the essential oils are extracted through a hydrocarbon method. They're either using propane or they're using alcohol to extract. There's a few that are using steam but steam extraction only gets out the water solubles. It doesn't get out the fat solubles. The hydrocarbons do get out the pardon me, I just had a brain lapse there. They do get out all the fat solubles too. The problem with the carbon extractions, the alcohol, the propanes, is that they leave free methyl radicals in the compounds when they're extracted, and free methyl radicals are cancer causing. So we don't want any of those things that are carcinogenic to be in our compounds. And with the technology we have, we don't have to extract those that way. So we come out with a pure product, no side effects, no addiction, no habit forming, no drug interactions. And it's tasteless, colorless, and odorless. And we only add a taste so that people feel like they're getting something. Initially, when we went with the water spray, people would spray it and they'd say, well, this is just water. And even though they would get an effect from it, we found that it's best to give them something that they can feel or taste and move on that way. So currently, that's where our research is right now. We're working on other compounds. We do have some things that look very promising, especially in skincare, and we're working with some compounds in combination with CBD, which is again, we're using our own extraction methods and using the technology that we have, and we can extract CBD without extracting the THC, so you don't get any of the psychotropic effect out of the CBD. For those that don't know what CBD is, it's cannabis oil. So we can isolate, and with the isolation that we use, we don't have any problems again with addiction, drug interaction, side effects, or any of those things. So that's where we are right now. Is that kind of where you want me to take it, Jim?
Yep, I love that. And now I want to push you right into Adapt and really the benefits when the Suroctin molecule gets in the body and what happens, what you see across the board with so many people. I'd like you to talk about some of the amazing testimonials, even how your wife gets, all the people that she works with on the product and things.
Yeah. Well, first thing you have to understand is that the Adapt does not have a direct effect on serotonin levels. It does not, it's not metabolically active to cause the effect that it does. It acts epigenetically, which means all it does is turn a switch. You take it in, and if I can give you a comparison, if you have any kind of serotonin deficiency, whether it be a sleep disorder, a mood disorder, hyperglycemia, arthritis, all these serotonin pathways that act, and you take the Adapt, it's going to go into your body, and your body looks at the way you're feeling right now, and it says, this is normal for me. It's normal for me not to sleep well. It's normal for me to be anxious or a little depressed, or have indigestion or peripheral pain. Any of these things, that's what your body sees as normal. So when you take the Adapt and it goes in and it merely triggers a different expression of the genes, and then your body recognizes that and says, oh, this is the new normal. This is what I'm supposed to feel like. So the body starts producing, for those who are low on serotonin, it will produce more serotonin. For those who are high with serotonin, it will lower it. And it does pass the blood-brain barrier, so it acts on the pathways in the brain. About 95% of all the serotonin cells, receptors, are in the gut. But the brain produces its own serotonin. So by this passing the blood-brain barrier, it allows the brain to produce its own serotonin. So for those who are low in serotonin, it will boost it, both in the gut and in the brain. And the body then will raise the serotonin levels, and you will start feeling the effects of that, which would be less depression or no depression, sleeping much better. We have about 20 people that consistently take this for us as a test bed that have fibromyalgia, and all 20 are living symptom-free right now. And we've had some of them on there for 6 years. So if your problem is serotonin based, this will act on it. For those of you who don't understand what I'm saying about the epigenetics, epigenetics is the phenotypical expression of the gene. For you ladies out there, best way I can explain it is that your phenotype, your genes have expressed themselves phenotypically so that you're pretty and your brother isn't, because he has basically the same genes, but his don't express the same way. And so we're looking at the phenotypic expression of the gene, which is the outward effect of it. And so we want that gene to express itself as what the real normal is. And then so you say, well, Don, why doesn't it just correct itself and stay that way? The reason is because your life hasn't changed. You're still doing the same things that cause the depression. You're still doing the same things that cause you lack of sleep. You're still doing the same things that disrupt your gut function. So all of those things are still going on. And that's why you keep taking this. And I keep it with me every day. I have it all day long, and I access it all day long if I feel like I want it and need it. So we're looking at strictly, it's not a metabolic effect directly. It is an epigenetic effect, and then your body takes over, and it will determine where it wants to use this. So if your body's greatest need is sleep, it's going to do that. If you're depressed, it's probably going to do that first. If you have gut issues, it may do that first. So one of the experiences we've had with fibromyalgia patients is they generally have this array of symptoms that they're struggling with. And one of the things I do with them is I sit down and I tell them, okay, this is going to be a 4 or 5 pronged effect, in that the first week you may sleep better, or you may be less depressed, or your digestion may be better, or you may have less peripheral pain. But after a few days, you're going to notice that the pain or the mood or the sleep or something is disrupted again, but one of those other symptoms is going to be better. And it will go through this progression of some being better, some being worse, until your body stabilizes. And for fibromyalgia patients, it generally takes about a month. So what we recommend with everyone, no matter what they're doing, if they're going to take this, commit to taking it for a month. And what I suggest is that everybody journal what they notice each day as a change relative to their normal day. If you slept a little bit better, if you seem to tolerate your foods a little bit better, if your mood is better, if you have less peripheral pain, these are the things you should be journaling so that you can keep track of it. And as you do that, then you can better explain it to people that you want to give it to. The serotonin levels, if low serotonin, this works really well. Those are people that are depressed, that have mood things, peripheral pain, sleep disorders. All those are low serotonin. High serotonin levels you find in ADHD kids, in autistic children, and quite often in people that take SSRIs, which are the antidepressants, the Paxil, Zoloft, all of those. Now, one of the problems with the SSRIs is the SSRI is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it blocks the receptor sites where serotonin would go to be metabolized, and it allows serotonin to build up in the body. The problem with that is there's no cutoff mechanism. The serotonin can keep building, and serotonin can reach critical heights where you could be diagnosed with serotonin syndrome. Serotonin syndrome is an elevated serotonin level to the point where it's starting to affect bodily functions. One of the great bodily functions it affects is irritability, sleep, pain, moodiness. So you go from those things being caused by low serotonin to having the same kind of reactions with high serotonin. According to the AMA, less than 5% of the serotonin syndrome cases are diagnosed properly. So you say, well, what happens with serotonin syndrome? Most often, and many of you may have had this experience. You have these symptoms return, and you go to your doctor and you say, it's not working anymore. I'm depressed again, or I've got peripheral pain, I'm not sleeping. And 99 times out of 100, what does he do? He either ups your dose, or he gives you another SSRI, or he may change you to a hallucinogen, which is like Halcyon, or he may give you something like Lunestra, which is a hypnotic. They don't do anything about the serotonin levels staying high, and they just don't know. And it's a sad commentary, but that's what's happening in the medical field right now with SSRIs, and that's one of the reasons that those have been black labeled for people under 18 years old, is because they were ending up committing suicides. And not everyone, of course, but sufficient number of them that they knew they had a problem. And one of the things that the pharmaceuticals really want to avoid is problems. They have huge liability on those things. So the doctors are kind of up against the wall because they don't have a lot of alternatives. My wife teaches adult special needs. Now, these are kids with Down syndrome, autism, young people, 22 to 57 are her class kids. She works with them as an academic director for about 35 to 40 kids. And she has been able to get the parents to consent to put a lot of the kids on this product. Now, the benefit to it is these kids are, without exception, they are so OCD that their lives are governed by their OCD. That goes without saying. And with the autistic kids, they have an OCD called stimming. And stimming is a repeatable habit, maybe tapping on the chair. It may be rubbing your hand across the top of the car before you can get in it. It may be turning your plate around 5 times before you can eat the food on it. They have these habitual actions that just govern their lives. And one of the great things about being on Adapt is that in all cases, the stimming it abates. It's not nearly as severe. And in some cases, the stimming is actually stopped for these kids. So they have some wonderful results with this. So where else do you want me to go with this, Jim?
Well, I want you to kind of share your experience, Don, because a lot of people have already asked about, can you take too much product? Is it safe for small children?
You could drink gallons of this. It won't hurt you. You could,
if you could actually share what you did, Don, as the guinea pig for us.
Develop the extraction. Like I said, we got this tarry goop that was foul smelling, foul tasting, and it looked like a deep green tar, and it had about the consistency of a thick tar. So I took that, and this was about This was about somewhere around 3,000 parts per million of the compounds that we wanted. So I started putting that into double-aught capsules, and I took a gram 3 times a day. I did that for a year. The only effect of it was I slept great. My weight went down. I felt good. I had no peripheral pain anywhere. And then when we learned, and my wife did the same thing. And then I can't afford big labs and studies, so I would do these things myself. And then when we learned the micronization of it, we dropped it from about 3,000 parts per million to what is in Adapt is less than 14 parts per million. However, with the delivery system, we have absorbency of over 250,000 times what we got in the tar. So when I developed this, and what you have now is Adapt, I started drinking. I let that be my hydration each day. I would drink a gallon of that a day, and I did that for a year. And again, no ill effects, just great mood, great sleep, no peripheral pain, great digestion, and I continued to drop some weight. So if you look at our patents, you can go to the USPTO website, which is Patent and Trademark Office website, and you can look at the patents there, and they do have summaries of the patents, the patent extracts, and you can look at those and see all of the things that have been proven that this helps. And it is a remarkable array of conditions that are serotonin related. Anything from, like I said, with fibromyalgia to fat metabolism. There are indications in it that it helps diabetics, that it helps people with renal disease. It helps in the skin, the gut. Serotonin is magical. There's really only 3 hormones in the body that have the kind of power that this has, and it's serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. And we're going to attack the other 2 and find ways to deliver helpful means there also. But my experience with this, and based on what people have used it, we've actually had it in the marketplace in a variety of iterations for about 8 years now. And we've been very careful about the way we marketed it, because I have the same trouble with most companies that I had with my partners, and they're just looking at it as a cash cow. And we've got to keep the purity of the product. We've got to keep the integrity of the product. Otherwise, I think we would have problems with regulatory agencies that would really want to shut us down, and we don't want to be involved with that. So right now, we're classified as a food. We're in the supplement line. There's no problems with it at all. Most people see us as kind of an outlier, and we're happy with that. We don't want to be well known. We'll keep our market very, very small, and fortunately, you're in that, so that's good.
The amazing thing is as you just spoke of, that there have been other companies that have looked at this product, and those companies all had existing product lines, existing ways of doing business, existing thought processes, and this is a product whose story needs to be told, and the time is right.
It really is a standalone. And as we develop new products, they will be based on the same standalone technology, so that we're not going to be in a compromised position. And I've had billion-dollar companies look at this, and I've just come to the conclusion that this is the route I want to go. I don't want to be just one more product on a shelf somewhere that is pushed to fill somebody's downline or to get their monthly quota. I want this to be used. This product will never, ever be for those who want to be garage qualifiers, as that saying goes. People use this product.
Yeah, I can speak to that, Don, because as we've gone through the pre-launch here for our distributors, we've limited people to 2 bottles, and every day we have people, can I get 6? Can I get 8 bottles? And so the demand is there, and yeah, obviously we started shipping product last week. The testimonials are coming in especially with sleep right away. I think that's probably the quickest response for people. But the last thing I want you to address before we open this up for some Q&A quick is talk about the purity of the water, as well as the process that your molecule gets in with the clumping and things.
Okay. Just kind of a thumbnail lesson on water technology. Even the purest of waters, which would be distilled water, it forms in clusters, and the clusters always form around whatever is available as an impurity. It doesn't matter what the impurity may be. It could be anything from a microbe to a speck of dirt or whatever, but water clusters around those things. The reason distilled water is like it is from a technology standpoint is it's gotten all of the impurities that are volatile out of it. So all the aromatics, all of the things that will boil off or stay as residue have been taken out of the water. That's why it's tasteless and has nothing else in it. However, the clusters that form in it are always formed around some sort of impurity. What I've done is I've developed a technology, and I shouldn't take credit for that. I've worked with people, and we've been able to develop a technology where we can break the water clusters apart and remove the impurities, and we have about a 15-second window of time where we can replace the impurity with our compounds, the polyphenols. And by doing so, then we have a purified water, and the only impurity, and I use that term academically, the impurity is our product. The water clusters come out totally uniform in shape or in size, and their absorbency is about 250,000 times what a normal water molecule might be. Water, first of all, doesn't exist as H2O. It exists as multiples of that in clusters. So we create new clusters. We enhance the absorbability, and by doing so, we can take these down to, like I said before, about 14 parts per million, and still get the effect we want, because they go right into the bloodstream. They go right through the cell wall, and so by so doing, we can get through the blood-brain barrier. We can get absorption in the kidneys, the skin, anywhere that you need that influx, where they're going to produce their own serotonin. We can get it in there and have it to be a benefit to it.
All right. So now for all of the proteges, all the distributors that are on here, I do not want you going out and saying that we pass the blood-brain barrier, because of course the medical industry says that only a drug can do that. But nonetheless, you've heard tonight exactly how powerful this product is. So what I want to do, and we have a lot of...
The blood-brain barrier is, it's in the patents. So,
Okay.
But now let me explain one thing. The Food and Drug Administration says that anything we can prove by research, we can claim. The Federal Trade Commission has a different take on that. So you've got two government agencies fighting each other. And the Food and Drug Administration says one thing. The Federal Trade Commission says much different, because they are beholden to big pharma and the medical complex. So just be wise in what you claim and what you say. You can always point people to the patents and let them read those if they're so inclined.
And then that's exactly what I do. I share those with them. They're very easy to find online. It's just a couple simple terms and you find them. So what I want to do is I know that we have several medical professionals on, and I know that there's a whole lot of questions that have come up. So if you guys want to unmute yourselves and ask some questions, now's your chance.
And I'll forewarn you, there's bound to be a question or 10 that I can't answer, but I'll give it my best shot.
It's all we can ask for, Don.
Hi, can you hear me?
I
We've got
can.
you.
Okay. I have clinical depression and I also have OCD. And I take bupropion, which of course is Wellbutrin, and Luvox. My question is, if I start taking this, will my drugs interfere with it? My hope is that I start taking this and then I can cut back until I can completely get off these prescriptions.
Yeah. I will tell you this, it won't interfere with it.
Okay.
We've clinically gone through all of that. There's no drug interference. Now, whether you can get off of your other drugs or not will depend on you and your health professional, and what kind of success you have in being able to wean yourself off or replace it or whatever. I will tell you that a lot of people that have been on drugs are now off. I do know one. We have one lady that takes this that was able to get off of Wellbutrin. Many have gotten off of other drugs, and so that's something that you've got to work through on your own with your health professional, and most likely your health professional will not give you a lot of support on this. I'm tuned in to who you are and how you want to do things.
Okay, but it won't interfere with the drugs I'm taking.
No.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
And I can actually share that we have a person that was able to get the product through our before our pre-launch. So as we were starting to get product out, and she actually was able to go off both her antidepressant as well as her medications for fibromyalgia in just the first 30 days. Now, that's not necessarily typical, but it's also what can happen with this product. And so we're blown away. What I want to say is, and Don, you've probably already seen this, but we've never seen, from our perspective, a product that worked for such a diverse base, because when you think about even prescription drugs don't work for everyone. So it's kind of interesting. So anyway, Tracy, you have a question?
To understand about it is this does not target a symptom. It does not target a sign. The reason we went after sleep in our sleep study, which I think you have on your website, don't you? Anyway,
Yes, we do.
We do have a double-blind sleep study that was done according to the Yale protocol, which is an electronically monitored and a subjective test. And the results on it were really remarkable. But we went after sleep because so many people have sleep issues, not because this is a sleep supplement. All this does is allow the body to regulate on its own serotonin pathways. So that's what you're doing when you try to take 5-HTP and melatonin and all of these things. You're trying to boost that serotonin pathway, and all of those interfere with the body's ability to do it naturally. People take those things just indiscriminately, and if you get in and read the inserts or go to WebMD and look at what the cautions are for melatonin and 5-HTP, you would really rethink how you're going to take those and for what duration of time. The SSRIs for depression are really not supposed to be prescribed for more than 2 to 3 weeks at a time. Ambien, which is an SSRI, is typically, people get 6-month prescriptions for that, and they're not supposed to. But, you know, that's, the blame goes all the way around. First of all, patients demand it from their doctors, and doctors are up against the wall trying to cure people and help them. So I don't cast a lot of blame there. I just say it is what it is. So this does not target anything. It just allows the body to switch on and off.
As to how much of this product we have on hand, because there's several companies that have gotten into situations where they they sold out of their supply and then they weren't able to produce it for months and months on end. So can you, my simple response is that we have a 2-week lead time on inventory. And can you explain how big that inventory is?
Yeah, right now we have on hand 30 trillion doses. That's monthly doses.
Wow.
And that was with a T. It's in trillion.
30 trillion monthly doses. And it has unlimited shelf life. I just got tests back today on product that is 10 years old that we always shelf tested. But I got product back today that is 10 years old. It's heavy metal free. Well, it's totally metal free. There's no methyl free radicals in it, and it doesn't grow any biota, and no, it won't grow any life forms on it. And it's the same potency as when we bottled it. So this technology is remarkable. It's a game changer.
I guess my only other question that I might have for you guys is that you have already seen effects like with the depression. And I guess when you were talking about all those different things, I have run the roulette system. I've even done genetic testing to find out what things I can't take. So I guess my only question is, you guys have seen good results, because I guess that's what I'm most curious about, just because I think I have pretty much been on every antidepressant under the sun, and I really understand where you're coming from with the serotonin buildup, because I've had to learn about it and really understand that it can have really detrimental effects with the buildup of it in your system. So I don't know. I guess I don't really have a question, except that you have seen improvement in that spectrum, I guess.
Well, we have, but again, I want to clarify that is if you're if the symptoms you have are serotonin based, then this will have an effect on them. Now,
And they are.
With that said, you have to understand that there are a lot of things going in your body that may manifest in similar ways. And just because you have a symptom doesn't mean it's serotonin based. So that's the easy answer. The genetic testing I find really interesting, because what they're testing is the expression of your genes at that moment. And it may not reveal something because they're just testing a genotype, and phenotypes change. The expression of the gene.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's why you don't feel depressed all the time or sleepless all the time. It's because you have these moments where genes will, it may be something you eat. It may be going to the beach, something that will change the expression of that gene to give you a different outlook, if you would, or a different feeling, however that's going to affect you. I feel really great with ice cream until 2 hours later.
So Don,
Sugar high dies down, but boy, it is really good while I'm taking it. So we have these things that express themselves differently. And we just have to be aware of it. We have, you know, to really tune into our bodies. They'll tell us a remarkable amount of information if we'll let them.
So Don, as you're talking, it brings up a question for me, and that's if someone is experiencing that high from an SSRI, will the product help them? Will it help their body to lower it, even though they're remaining on the SSRI?
If you're having serotonin syndrome, then you need to alert your doctor that that possibility, because he may not know. And bless his heart, he's doing the best he can, but that's what they've been taught. And unless they go beyond that and learn what the problems can be, they're kind of stuck in that. So to say, will it help? I don't know. The main thing at that point, if you've got serotonin syndrome, is to get off of the SSRIs or to start weaning yourself down. It's not to take more. It's not to replace it with something else. It's to get that out of your system, and it takes a while to flush those things out of the system, because they do have a cumulative effect.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions out there?
Yes, I have a question. And thank you, really thank you for bringing this to us, both Don and Jim. Jim, you mentioned there are simple terms to find the patents. What are those simple terms?
You can find, if you, Don's company is Seroctin Research. That's Seroctin, Seroctin, Research and Technology in Utah. If you search for Seroctin Research patents, you will find them.
Thank you.
It's good reading. It's just laborious.
Well, you can.
Through that, we've got another 20,000 pages of research you can read.
Don, you know, can you? I'd love to have you on this recording address. You know, the patents. I believe you said that the earliest that they start to expire is in about 2025. But address what's done already, you know, what your attorneys have said as far as extending them.
Well, our attorney, and again, you know, I'll just tell you up front, it's a money game. It's time and money to develop patents. A patent's probably a patent that's worthwhile and defensible is going to cost you easily into six figures. So we have not had the funding to do that, other than the ones that we have done already. And but our patent attorneys feel like we've got another 25 to 30 patents that we can bring off current technology. And as we can fund them, we will do that. Our first patent expires in 2024, and we've already begun working with our patent attorneys to file an improvement on the patent so that we can tie it up for another 17 years. Our last patent does not expire until 2031. And again, we will take each of those as they come up to file improvements so that we can secure the patent. Now, having said that, we're not concerned if a patent expires, because we only patented that basic knowledge that is in the patent extracts. We have proprietary knowledge that I have not shared with anyone, that will not be available to anyone. That's why we don't file process patents anymore, because all you have to do is change a couple of steps in the process, and you not only can get a new patent, but you basically negate the old patent that's out there. So we don't want to be in that position. So some of the technology we have not patented, we've not published, and I don't give many details on it. So that's just the nature of the game you have to play in this arena. It's really dog eat dog. I've had pharmaceutical companies approach me wanting to make a drug out of this, and I won't go there. There's lots of money to be made, but there's no integrity in that process at all, and I don't want to go there.
You know, that I want to share the first time that I had a chance to meet you, and we met for lunch, and it was a Chinese dinner, I believe. We had it family style, but we were walking out and talking, and you know, I shared how excited we were as we started digging in and seeing the research, and how I realized as I was looking at it, and we started getting testimonials right away as we got product out. I started sharing that, you know, I believe this is $1 billion product in this industry. And you made a comment to me, and it's forever ingrained in my mind, and I'll remember that walk across the parking lot for the rest of my life, because you said, I now understand why it's taken so long to find the right company to represent this, because I was waiting for you guys just as much as you guys were waiting for me. So I just truly appreciate, like I said, that will forever be ingrained in my memory, and I'll always appreciate that little walk across the parking lot. Well,
thank you. Thank you. I'll always have enough to make ends meet. I don't worry about that. But I'm not going to sell. This technology is too good just to sell down the drain. Right now, there is a growing number of health professionals, doctors, NPs, PAs, and it's growing rapidly, who are beginning to listen to their patients and willing to work with what their patients inherently feel is right or wrong about whatever treatment they're getting. And if you've got a cadre of professionals that will work with you that way, that's remarkable. And yes. I not only commend you, I commend them.
Yes.
You know, I give you an example, just a personal thing. 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with the most aggressive form of prostate cancer. And I asked the urologist, I said, well, what's the worst case scenario? And he said, worst case scenario, well, he offered surgery. That was all he offered. And I said, what's the worst case scenario? He said, well, worst case scenario would be 3 to 5 years. And I said, okay, what if I do nothing? And he said, 3 to 5 years. So I went to the Huntsman Cancer Institute up in Salt Lake that just does radiation. And I said, if you do this, what's the worst case scenario? And they said 3 to 5 years. In 3 to 4 years, you'll probably have death of the large intestine. You'll start having other problems, and it will exacerbate everything else. And I said, well, what if I do nothing? And they said 3 to 5 years. So I had a hard time finding anyone that would sit down and look at my case as really not just a prostate gland to do surgery or radiation on, but as a person with major concerns, with a family, with a business, and an intense desire to really grow to be an old man. And I found a doc that would work with me and was willing to just observe and keep an eye on this. It's way past the 5-year mark. I'm still, I don't know anybody my age that has the health I have. I'm 74, and I'm in great health. And I stay very physically fit and strong, but I am so grateful to have a physician who will listen to me and be willing to say, oh, okay, your body tells you that must be good. And he's a very traditionally trained doctor, Duke University. He's almost as old as me, and he's very traditional. But for some reason, he took the time to listen to me and work with me. So if you've got docs like that that you can work with, you're way ahead of the game. This works remarkably well with animals. We've had horses that were unrideable, that they've been on this for a day, and they're just the most mellow, wonderful horses after. We've got a veterinarian back in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in, she calls them angry dogs. They're dogs that have to wear a thunder jacket all the time. And she puts this in their water, and that's one of the best applications, just water. And she gets all the dogs out of thunder jackets.
That's great.
See, now you've already discovered this, and for the benefit of everyone else, we'll explain why this is so important, is that animals are not subjective. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I didn't sleep well last night. This is going to be a hell of a day. Right. They don't walk around wishing they had another master. They have a master, and basically they're going to love the master no matter how they treat them. They love them,
Right.
And so animals are not subjective. And that's why someone can walk in and say, something's wrong with my dog or something's wrong with my cat. They know because the dog is behaving in a manner that is not the way they always see that animal.
Right.
And so whatever manifests in that animal is because something's wrong.
Right.
So for this, we have tons of people that just put a few squirts in their dog's water dish or their cat's water dish. We did develop a top feed for horses that you can give the horse an eighth of a cup in their evening feeding, and it just works marvelous with them. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah. Most of the commercial feeds do not hit the needs for serotonin development in the body. And we use this extensively in our family. We don't have any terrible twos anymore. The kids, moms just spray it. In fact, the kids will come and ask for it, but even the ones that can't talk, I've got a little 14-month-old grandson, and he'll come up to his dad and go like this. It's great. I have a 15-year-old grandson that's he's diminutive. He hasn't hit a growth spurt yet, and he's easy to pick on. And so he's had some anxiety issues at school. He takes it to school with him, and throughout the day, he'll just pop a few sprays in his mouth. The school knows what he's doing, and they've okayed him bringing that to school, and it gets him through his tough days.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, we've had everything from nursing mothers to 100-year-olds take this. It's fun. It really is fun to see an effect in people's lives. We want to develop a lot more. My standing joke, and I'm sure Jim has heard this, is I can produce a better Valium than Valium.
Yeah.
Because I can, without the side effects and the drug interaction and all the ill effects that it brings, because I understand the technology that the pharmaceutical companies do not understand. And that's, again, no brilliance on my part. It's just tenacity and trying to find out how these things work and why they work the way they do. It's a lot cheaper for them if they can put a compound together in the lab than it is for them to go out and go through all the processes that we go through to end up with the end product. The end product that I ended up with which is the goop. If you have 30 milliliters of that goop, it costs about $5,000 to develop that. And there's no way I can make that marketable without finding a delivery method where I get the absorbability that we get. So we've done some homework that financially they probably can't do, but we can keep reproducing that, and we can find other avenues, other compounds that work just magically in the body. They're unbelievable.
Don, I I thought that you had said as we were going through the process that it didn't matter anymore, even if it went under the tongue. It mattered that it went in the mouth.
As it hits mucosal tissue,
Okay.
spray it in the mouth and swallow it. It's fine. You don't even have to hold it in there and hope it absorbs. It will absorb.
It's very difficult to swallow it because it's gone before you can swallow it. So.
Well, there's not much of it. You know, if you take 6 to 10 sprays, you know, six sprays will last you a month. If you take 10, it'll last you 22 days. It's a 220 spray on that bottle, and so the dynamics of doing that will tell you what your body's going to do. And we've never really found any correlation between body weight and the amount you take. I don't know why some people need to take 10. Some people only take 6. A lot of little kids just take 1 or 2 and they get the effect. So you know, those are things, hopefully someday we'll be able to research them. But as it is right now, we just don't know.
Okay. That's great.
Any other questions out there before we let everyone go enjoy their family for the evening?
That's the most important thing you'll accomplish tonight, is enjoying it.
Exactly. And I appreciate that perspective. So it sounds like we're good to go here. I appreciate so much, Don, you taking the time with us. I appreciate so much the relationship that we've had a chance to develop and what you've done to get to this point to allow us to be bringing this and finally sharing this story with people. So thank you for your dedication, determination, and integrity.
Thank you for including me in this. And thanks to all of you for the questions and just tuning in. It's always fun to talk about.
You know, we've been on for 76 minutes and we've lost one person. So that tells me that people are really in tune with what you're saying, Don. So appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.